Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dr. Karen here. I hope that this is working properly. I should be sharing my screen right now with you and showing you the ins and outs and actually taking you behind the scenes in my development of SLP Learning Academy. So, SLP Learning Academy is my program for SLPs where I mentor them in really honing their clinical expertise and figuring out how to make the most out of their career, including developing clinical expertise and also developing leadership and career building skills, whether that means advancing in their career as an SLP, as an employee, or whether that means figuring out ways and plans for starting a business. So, one of those things that we focus on is productivity, because if you are currently an SLP and you are working a full-time caseload and you're thinking about what are the next steps for me, it's going to be really hard for you to do that if you don't have a really solid system for planning. So that's why I have recently started to include some therapy materials. I'm not huge on having tons of materials because I think that there can be a such thing as too much of a good thing, but it is important to have some staple materials, especially now as a lot of us are having to utilize electronic resources more often. So that's why, even though the focus of the program is getting more fulfillment out of your career, we also talk about productivity because it's really hard to think about next steps if you are in the weeds. So, with that being said, I wanted to share some recent resources that I've been working on developing. So, initially, when we first started the program, there were just the coaching calls and the trainings. But recently, I've added a library of Google Slides, and I wanted to share some of those with you today and give you a kind of a sample of them just to get your feedback, because I'm always looking for ways to create resources that will be helpful for you as an SLP. So what I have here is in the back end of my own Google Slides where I'm creating these materials for you. Right now we've got fluency, language and literacy, social pragmatic language, and speech sound disorders. So I've actually, in the description above this video, I have shared a link to a Google Doc that is in the speech sound disorders section. I wanted you to take a look at it and play around with it and see if you like it. And just, I'd love for you to give me your feedback. Let me know what kinds of things you're able to do with it. All of those things. So I'm going to click over here, and we've actually got L sound, R sound, and S and Z sound. And I'm going to go into my R words. So all these are really simple Google Slides. And I actually this week looked into boom cards as well. I have created some boom cards for the members of my Language Therapy Advanced Foundations program. Again, just very still in the beginning of the testing phase, just to see what materials will be useful to you, because obviously a lot of things have changed this year. But I have found in my research that when it comes to boom cards or Google slide decks, there are a lot of things that you can do in boom cards that you could probably also make work in just a simple set of Google Slides. So while I'm open to your feedback on that, let me know what kinds of things that you like, what you've been utilizing. You can really do a lot. If you want to keep it super simple, you can do a lot with just simple Google slide decks. So what I've actually shared with you today, and this is how it works in the program as well. Obviously, I just shared one of these with you today so you can get kind of a sample, but there's a whole bunch of different decks that people get when they're members. I've shared the AR word. So I'm going to click on that and just show you what it looks like. So all of these articulation decks, and this is a great system for you if you are looking to just find an efficient process for therapy. And honestly, this will work for teletherapy, but you could do this in person as well. Same with boom cards, those types of things. You can use them whether you're sitting next to the student in person or whether you're sharing a screen over a teletherapy platform. So all I've started with, just to keep this super flexible with for you, is the probes. Because there are some times when you just want to kind of go do a lot of quick drills here There are a number of different things that you might want to do for your particular activity. Sometimes you might want to just do the words, really quickly. Sometimes you might want to do some sentences, and it might be different for every specific kid. Like you might have something different that you're going to do with the deck for one student and then do something totally different for the other. So what I've done here is, because these are electronic documents, what you can do is that you can actually edit the actual document. I'm going to give you some instructions for how to utilize this particular one that I've shared in just a minute. But what you can do is go over here, go file, and make a copy, and then copy the entire presentation and save it as a separate document. So you could have specific documents for specific groups of kids or specific clients, so that you take this master document and you edit it for your student. You could even say, hey, I want to just work on the first 5 words today. And then you could just go in and delete all of the rest of these on that particular document. And you have your master document, so you're not actually deleting the probes. You're just making it customized for that particular student. You could do the same thing if you wanted them to have a homework assignment. You could make a copy and just assign them a couple words rather than all of these things. But there are a number of things you could do. You can search for images on the computer if you wanted to add some images. You can add sentences down here. So you can create sentences that your student can say. They can come up and generate their own sentences. You could give them an assignment to come up with a whole bunch of different sentences if you gave them this blank document. So there's a lot of different things you can do with it. That's why if I had to pick one, Google Slides versus Boom Cards, I'd probably pick Google Slides because you can customize them that way. But like I said, you could even import this. There's a way, if you are on Boom Learning, you can actually take a slide deck that's been created in PowerPoint or Google Slides, and you can actually import it into your own Boom Cards. So you could even take this that I'm sharing with you today and create your own Boom Cards with it. So you're welcome to do that. So that's what we've got. And again, I use that same process because I like to give the template, but because there are so many different cases out there, there are so many different clients, so many different age levels and all of those things. What's great about this is that you start with your frame and your template, and then you can make those tiny customizations on these blank slides or on these slides with just the probes as you're in your sessions. You could be kind of creating materials as you go within your sessions with your students. So your students are even helping you with that development process as well. And that way you don't have to have everything done up front. You can create it as you go. Another thing that's really cool about this is when you're using electronic resources, let's say that, I always remember when I had my Artic decks, and it's like, oh, which ones do I want to pull out for this student? Because I know they can't say those words yet. Or maybe I want to go into this deck and pull out specific words for that student. It's a little bit easier to do that because you could do file, make a copy, and just delete the words you don't need for that particular session. And that is a lot easier to have that all laid out for you. You could go in the morning, take your master deck, and then customize it for your sessions for the day rather than having to reorganize them after you wrap up with one session and prepare for another. So that's really nice to do. And then also a cool part about this is that if you do have a document saved that's kind of a working file, you can just go back to wherever you left off in your previous session and have your slides ready. And that's something that you can't necessarily do. You can do some of those things with Boom Cards. They've got, lots of cool interactive features that are a little bit different or maybe a little bit more involved than what you can do with Google Slides. But there are, the way that you can actually make a copy and share it is a little bit different in Google Slides, and that's just my preference. I think it's a little bit more flexible, even if it isn't as fancy. But like I said, you can easily import a Google Doc into a boom card and, create, have this be your probe and, have a correct, go through it with your students, create some different lines in your boom cards so that they can create their responses and things like that. So either way, it'll work, but wanted to share this with you. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you like it, and share how you've been using it. If you do, check it out. Again, when you want to use this, I have shared a read-only file or a view-only file, so you're not going to be able to edit the document that I shared because, again, this is the same master document. If you started editing it and I gave you editing privileges, everybody would see your edits. So what you're going to want to do before you use this is go over here, go File, make a copy the entire presentation, and save your own master document with it. And then you can use that file, make a copy for however many iterations of this document that you want. So that's a sample of what we've got going here. Love to hear your feedback. Hope it's helpful. And again, I have shared the Google Slides deck link in the description above this video. And also, if you are interested in getting the other ones and seeing what's available in SLP Learning Academy, I've shared that link too. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching today, and have a wonderful day.